The Miami Heat may have a hidden gem on their roster, and we're going to take a look who that could be and why I believe a bigger role this season is on the horizon for this player. I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. But who is that hidden gem, you ask? Well, it's none other than the second-round pick from 2024, Pelle Larsson. Bleacher Report put out an article of a hidden gem on each team. They had Larson as the player for Miami. And if I'll be honest, if you asked me who the hidden gem is on the Miami Heat roster, I probably would have answered with Pelle Larsson myself. It would have been either him or Haywood Highsmith, because I think Highsmith's one of the most underrated players that no one talks about in terms of his 3-and-D impact. But Larson, with his youth, certainly is a player that I've got my eye on. And he is about to enter his second year in the NBA. I am very excited for his second season. Are you with me? If you are, hit that thumbs up icon. If Larson happens to scroll across this YouTube video, I want him to know that Heat fans are excited for him. So join me and show him by liking today's show. Let's show what Bleacher Report said about the second-year guard, and then I'll get into my thoughts. Bleacher Report said that Pelle Larsson looked at the part of the rotation player during his stints at the California Classic and Vegas Summer League, predominantly thanks to the ease in which he could make things happen when getting downhill. This is a restrained burst to how he will go after defenders with or without a ball screen. He is not overtly fast, but he deftly turns corners and burrows his way through openings. And I will say, the statistics were solid for Larson at Summer League, but he did shoot inefficiently. We'll look at those numbers here in a second. But if you were just talking about the eye test of, hey, is this player probably too good to play in Summer League? I think Pelle Larsson passed those eye tests with flying colors. Like I mentioned, the efficiency wasn't great. He struggled with his shot from beyond the arc and just barely shot over 40% from the field. But when you watch him defend, you watch him get to his spots and draw fouls, that is something where you're like coming away with this like, okay, there really is no need for Larson to be here consistently. This is an NBA level rotation guy. And I mentioned the physicality he displayed and his ability to get to the charity stripe. In the 5 games that he played in Summer League between Vegas and the California Classic, he averaged 9 free throws a game in those games. And it's just a bit egregious to think that he's able to get there. Remember Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the foul baiting talks? Yeah, he averaged 9 free throws a game this past season. So it's not like it will translate to the NBA because Larson was going up against players that are rookies, new to the league, and guys who aren't really capable of holding rotation spots. But he did what he's supposed to do, and his knack for getting to the charity stripe drew me in because, like, okay, does he have more of an on-ball presence in the NBA than maybe I originally thought? Let's kick it back to Bleacher Report here, who said the knack for inciting and working through contact extends to the middle of the floor, where he's no stranger to putting defenders on his back hip and uncorking a floater. The handle can run a little wide, but his overall live dribble poise opens up opportunities for those playing beside him. And that's kind of where I just was, right? Where watching him in Summer League, and I mentioned it's lower competition, yes, but it brought me to the conclusion that maybe there is a world where Larson, I wouldn't call him a point guard by any stretch of the imagination, but I would feel confident with Larson being a secondary ball handler at times in some Heat lineups. Do I think that it's his best role? No, but I think he showed the capability of potentially running a pick and roll from time to time, maybe in the flow of a half-court set, in a curl into a pick and roll with a Kel'el Ware or a Bam Adebayo. And his physicality on both ends of the floor is another thing that really stood out. I don't want to hit that point so often in this video, but if there is one takeaway from Larson this summer, it's his NBA frame and the physicality he played with on a day and nightly basis. And we're going to get more into Larson here, but I want to know your one word on Pelle Larsson. I'm going to give you mine here in a second, but before I do, I don't want you to steal mine. Let me hear yours down in the comment section. My one word on Larson, grinder. I mean, you think about what he did in his career to get to this point. He grinded it out at Arizona, finding a way to finally get a rotational spot, and was one of their top contributors in his final 2 years of his career at Arizona. And no one expected him to be an NBA guy, but Miami had a keen eye on Larson. And with how the Heat like their players in the organization, it does not surprise me. Tough-nosed, hard-nosed type of guy who really just cares about winning more than his personal accolades, and he grinds for everything that he has gotten in his career. And in Larson's rookie season, he appeared in 55 games, played in about 14 minutes a night. So when he was on the floor, he didn't get a ton of playing time. He wasn't asked to do a lot. He was tasked at some points with defending opposing players' top guards and wings. I'll never forget, they had Pelle Larsson guarding Jason Tatum in a game. But obviously, with a full offseason, an NBA program, and understanding what is required and what is going on in the NBA, you would project Larson to be much more efficient and impactful offensively in his second season with the Miami Heat. We don't have to wonder about his defensive abilities. He competes there. I would argue he's one of the best defensive players on this Heat roster when it comes to guarding the perimeter. I would put him not in the same tier as Davion Mitchell or Haywood Highsmith potentially, but I think Larson has the potential to be in the same tier of Andrew Wiggins level defenders on the wing and on the perimeter. Wiggins is a little bit longer than Larson in terms of his wingspan and height, but Larson can guard the twos and the ones in the NBA much more efficiently than I think Andrew Wiggins can. And if you look at Pelle Larson's defensive advanced stats from a year ago on Crafted NBA, you see that with a larger role, he could really start to hone in even more here. He ranked in the 72nd percentile in deflections and adjusted defensive turnovers forced, 89th percentile. That was one thing that he did very well. He gets on the floor as well. He will make the extra hustle plays. 71st percentile in defensive rebounding, 67th percentile in versatility, and in the Crafted NBA defensive plus minus category, he was a positive defender and in the 64th percentile. Is he an elite defender? No, but he was certainly an above average defender in his rookie season while he was tasked with guarding a lot of the top players on opposing teams when he did see his limited action. So it leaves me with the thought that this could be something where he is used more as a primary on-ball defender going forward. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we will have you covered with news, rumors, and more around this basketball team, whether it's talking about individual players like Larson today. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any video we put out because it is on the daily. I would expect Pelle Larsson to have a larger role on the Miami Heat in his second season. Now, the Miami Heat roster could see a couple moves still to come before the season gets here in October, as Miami, as you are well aware, is trying to get underneath the luxury tax. They need to shed about $1.5 million in salary. Could see a waive and stretch, could see a trade, but there could be another deal. But Larson, I would expect him to have a predominant role off the bench. Now, is he going to be one of the first two people off the Heat bench? No, but he could absolutely be a third or fourth guy off the bench. That seventh, eighth, ninth man potentially. Ninth man, I don't know if that would be the case. I would play Pelle Larsson. I don't know if this is a hot take, and maybe y'all will think I'm crazy. I'm ready to play Pelle Larsson over Jaime Jaquez Jr. I am. I'm sorry. I know Jaime had an unbelievable rookie season, but Jaime is an older player for a third-year guy, and he was so unplayable at times in his second season that he's got to prove to me that he should be on the floor before I give him minutes over Larson, because Larson showed me more down the stretch of last year. So when I think about the Heat bench, I'm thinking Jovic and Davion Mitchell, first two guys off, and then I would think Haywood Highsmith and Larson as that seventh, eighth man, with Jaime being your ninth guy, and then probably seeing Simone Fontecchio as that 10th man, at least as of now, with no true backup center. So I do think Larson will be a key contributor for this Heat team off of the bench. And it's hard to argue against it. We showed his advanced defensive numbers. We showed his offensive numbers from last season. Well, if you just look at the advanced metrics in terms, were the Heat a better team with him on or off the floor? They were better on because as a personal player, but really this stat is the Miami Heat's offensive rating and defensive rating when he's personally on the floor for the most part. He had a positive 2.4 rating. So Miami gets better when he is playing for them. It's not rocket science. You play the players that contribute to winning the most. And to me, I think Larson contributes to winning the most. Does he have as good as a finishing game as a Jaime Jaquez Jr. if you're comparing those two? No, but I believe Larson is a better defender. He's better physically. He's actually a better three-point shooter as well. So to me, when you start to stack up of what Miami could look for in a connecting piece to fit around a Norman Powell, Bam Adebayo, Kel'el Ware hero quadrant going forward in games, well, maybe Larson is a player that could fit that mold. More coming here in just 1 second, but I had to tell you about this unbelievable deal, this Heat Culture black hoodie, which I think is just so sleek. 56% off. Yes, you heard that correctly. Usually $120, now available for $53. Just go to chatsports.com/heat sale. Links in the description and comments of today's video. I can't believe this deal. I can't imagine it's still going to be live much longer, so take advantage right now. Now, when you talk about the Miami Heat roster and where things stand right now, the only problem that I have with what Miami has is that they have too many wings on this roster. If you just look at the bench, there are 6 wings. 6! There's 15 players that are on an NBA standard roster usually. The Heat currently have 14. So if you do the math, there's 9 players on a bench compared to the starters. 6 of your 9 bench players are on the wing. Jovic, Jaquez, Larson, Fontecchio, Keshad Johnson, Haywood Highsmith. The other players not mentioned are obviously Kasparas Yakachonis and Terry Rozier and Davion Mitchell. So you have 3 point guards and 6 wings. Also speaks to the fact that you don't have any backup big men. That is an issue as well. But you can't play everyone here. Like, it's just physically impossible because you're not going to play 13 players every single night because you know Davion Mitchell's going to get playing time. Rozier's obviously not. But when you start to think about wanting to develop players like Larson, like Jovic more, you probably still want to develop Jaquez a little bit as well. How are you going to do all of that when you have that many wings coming off of the bench? Because it's not like you're not going to play Andrew Wiggins 30 minutes a night. Bam is going to play 30-plus minutes a night. Ware's going to play at least 27, 28 minutes a night. Like, where are the minutes coming from for some of these younger wings that you have off the bench? Especially when we know Jovic is going to be one of the more prioritized guys. He'll certainly play 23, 25 minutes a night without hesitation. It might be more than that if he continues to develop the way that I think he can. So I think there's a couple, at least one, players on this bench that will probably be left out. So if there were one player that we just showed that is a wing coming off the bench for Miami, who should be left out of their rotation? Let me know that player you think it should be. This is nowhere indicative of my thoughts on who should be left out, because if we're being real, I would probably leave out Jaquez and Keshad Johnson. If you want to win. If you want to develop, then you're probably going to leave out Fontecchio and Keshad Johnson. But a player that I just think should be moved is Haywood Highsmith. And I spoke earlier in the video. I think he's arguably the second most underrated player on this Heat team with Pelle Larsson. And I love Haywood and the way that he has found himself into an impactful role on this roster. But he's got an expiring $5.6 million contract. There is value around the league in Haywood. And what I mean is you can get 2, 3 second-round picks in return for Highsmith. Heck, you might be able to get a protected first-round pick for Highsmith if a contending team is desperate for defense and three-point shooting help off of their bench. You can also just flip him for potentially a backup center that you need to balance your roster out a little more. I have floated out the idea of trading Haywood Highsmith to the Suns, who have coveted Haywood in the past, for Nick Richards to be your backup center because he makes $5 million a year. The point is, I love Haywood. But if you are going with a more of a youth movement, he's on an expiring deal. I don't want to lose him for nothing. I'd like to recoup some assets rather than just letting his 5.6 mil expire because it's not that much expiring salary. So why not move him for a center potentially or draft capital, paving the way for more minutes for a guy like Pelle Larsson? Certainly a move that I would make. You want more on the Miami Heat? My social media is the perfect way to get that. At Nic_Rohloff is the handle. Go give me a follow because I'm talking Heat basketball every day in between our videos over there.